So, hello, welcome back to another episode featuring Atlas Shrugged. And I still see that I'm having performance issues. I think that it is just gonna be what it is for this episode. I really don't know why. Maybe it's gonna resolve itself by 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 the minute. But we're gonna see. You can clearly see that something is wrong. Anyway, I went further, and this is actually the second try of recording that. But in the meantime, there wasn't anything that's been particularly important. So I'm just gonna go ahead with something that is important, which is the following thing, or the following phrase or paragraph or whatever you want to call it. I swear by my life and my love of it that I will never live for the sake of another man, nor ask another man to live for mine. Which for me means I will never depend on somebody to be happy. And I think this is incredibly important, because why would you? Why would anybody suggest you to do so? I mean, it is normal and it is quite common and sometimes even expected to be with somebody, to be in a relationship, to be even married or whatnot. But this shouldn't mean that you need another person to be happy. You know what I mean? Like, it makes way more sense to be happy even though you are alone and even though you are on your own. Of course, you're going to be happier if you're with somebody that you absolutely love. It's going to make things better. It is just what it is, period. But you shouldn't be unhappy when you are alone. You shouldn't be unhappy without this particular person. It's just not a good place to be in, because who knows, when this person dies or leaves you or whatever happens. Like, there's so many things that can happen, and also knowing how to live alone, I think, is incredibly important. And everybody that broke up with a long-term relationship, or before being in a long-term relationship, knows that it is actually quite interesting and difficult to live alone again, and to just not be with this particular person or with any person for a set period of time or for a period of time. It's just something different. It feels different. It is a different life experience. It is just something different. Don't want to say that it is something bad or it is something that's not good or whatnot, but it is just something different. Ask yourself whether the dream of heaven, the dream of heaven and greatness should be left waiting for us in our graves, or whether it should be ours here and now on this earth. Which for me means living one's life and not waiting till you die, Which for me also means just, it is something that I quite often point out, don't drink all day long, don't smoke weed all day long. This is not, I think, what living your life means, at least not for me. If it is what living your life means for you, then just do whatever you want, If it is something that makes you happy, then just do it. But the question always is long-term happiness and short-term happiness, is what is going to make you short-term happy also what is going to make you long-term happy? I don't know, Which could be about smoking and drinking, but which could also be about working out and resting, for example. Okay, should I maybe rest today because I know that in the long term it's not going to be healthy for me? Or shouldn't I? And just have this short-term gratification or short-term pleasure, but potentially just losing on that or just not having it in the future. Just because I'm fucking myself, just because I'm whatever. There's so many different things that could be happening. Yada, yada, yada. But I still don't know why I'm having performance issues. I'm gonna close everything now, Certain things I actually don't like to close, like Photoshop, which I've done right now. Then I'm gonna also do this. I really don't understand why. Normally I'm not having any issues whatsoever. Also gonna close this thing. I mean, it seems better. Yeah, so 4 minutes of the whole recording are fucked. That's something I can live with. Anyway, I have never felt guilty of my ability. I have never felt guilty of my mind. I have never felt guilty of being a man. I accepted no unearned guilt and thus was free to earn and to know my own value. Ever since I can remember, I had felt that I would kill the man who had claimed that I exist for the sake of his need, and I had known that this was the highest moral feeling. We had no rules of any kind, said Galt, except one. When a man took our oath, or oath, I don't actually know what it is. Let me look it up. Sworn statement promise. Okay. It meant a single commitment, not to work in his own profession and not to give to the world the benefit of his mind. Each of us carried it out in any manner he chose. Those who had money retired to live on their savings. Those who had to work took the lowest jobs they could find. Some of us had been famous, others, like that young brakeman of yours, whom Helly discovered, were stopped bears before they had set out to get tortured. But we didn't give our minds or the work we loved. Each of us continued in his real profession in whatever manner and spare time he could manage, but he did it secretly for his own sole benefit, giving nothing to man, sharing nothing. Well, I don't know what the exact meaning of this shit is, but giving away things, being generous with what you have, and also not expecting other people just being the same, even though I just clearly think and believe that being a nice person really increases the percentage of people also being nice to you, or the chance of people being nice to you as well. It just makes sense, It just makes sense, period. If you're nice to other people, the chance is way higher that these people are also going to be nice to you. They were majoring in two subjects, physics and philosophy. Their choice amazed everybody but me. Modern thinkers considered it unnecessary to perceive reality, and modern physicists considered it unnecessary to think. I knew better. What amazed me was that these children knew it too. There is no conflict and no call for sacrifice, and no man is a threat to the aims of another. If men understand that reality is an absolute not to be faked, that lies do not work, that the unearned cannot be had, that the undeserved cannot be given, that the destruction of a value which is will not bring value to which isn't. I had cut myself in two, as the mystics preached, and I ran my business by one code of rules, but my own life by another. I rebelled against the looters' attempt to see the price and value of my steel, but I let them set the moral values of my life. I rebelled against demands for an unearned wealth, but I thought it was my duty to grant an unearned love to a wife I despised, an unearned respect to a mother who hated me, an unearned support to a brother who plotted for my destruction. I rebelled against undeserved financial injury, but I accepted a life of undeserved pain. I rebelled against the doctrine that my productive ability was guilt, but I accepted as guilt my capacity for happiness. I rebelled against the creed that virtue is some disembodied, unknowable of the spirit. But I damned you, my dearest one, for the desire of your body and mine. What I'm seeing there is something that I deeply appreciate and can appreciate in people, which is, I cannot live with getting something even though I don't deserve it, but I'm happy and fine with giving something to somebody that actually did not deserve it. Sad, an unearned respect to a mother who hated me, but I thought it was my duty to grant an unearned love to a wife I despised, an unearned respect to a mother. It was my duty to grant something to somebody, but on the other hand, I rebelled against the looters' attempt to set the price and value of my steel, but I let them set the moral values of my life. I rebelled against demands for an unearned wealth. I rebelled against demands for an unearned wealth. I like that. I don't know why I like that. It just feels, right is maybe the wrong word, but it feels okay. It feels good. Yes, her voice was half gasp, half scream as under a physical blow. The shock as her only awareness. Hank, how did you know it? He smiled and pointed at the radio. My darling, you used nothing but the past tense. Oh, her voice was now half gasp, half moan, and she closed her eyes. I don't know what it is about. Maybe you can get something out of that. If you don't know, the thing to do is not to get scared, but to learn. She had learned in the slums of her childhood that honest people were never touchy about the matter of being trusted. That's actually really the truth, you know? They don't give a shit about that. You know, people who are honest, they don't really give a shit about not being trusted. Well, not giving a shit might be far-fetched, but it's not one of their primary concerns, I guess. As I believe it is also for me, I tend to be as honest as I want to, which is actually pretty honest. I don't like lying. I don't like anything that is kind of similar to lying, you know. I also, not despise, but I also don't like lying when it could benefit me in any way. You know, of course, sometimes it could be handy. Sometimes it could be nice to just lie and make things easier for myself. But I don't like that, and I don't do that. I don't think that it is right. And of course, I mean, just saying half the truth and not just including everything. It is something that I did as well. Probably something that I'm gonna do as well. But I also have seen that sometimes I do get myself in trouble unnecessarily by just talking too much, I guess. Which doesn't make any sense as well. Like, why would you fuck yourself? Like, yeah. But I don't like lying. I like being honest, and I like then also the value that other people have in your opinion and you as a person. You know, when they know that you're always honest. You know, and they also know that and they appreciate that, and I like that. Anyway, whether anyone accuses some person of being unfeeling, he means that the person is just. He means that that person has no causeless emotions and will not grant him a feeling which he does not deserve. He means that to feel is to go against reason, against moral values, against reality. Dagny, how did you do it? How did you manage to remain unmangled? By holding to just one rule. Which? To place nothing above the verdict of my own mind. You have taken some terrible beatings, maybe worse than I did, worse than any of us. What held you through it? The knowledge that my life isn't the highest of values, too high to give up without a fight. That my life is the highest of values, it is the highest of values, too high to give up without a fight. I like that. Like, it really focuses on one's own opinion and what you yourself think about yourself, and pretty minor amount to what other people think about you. And even though it might be your mother, might be your dad, like, to place nothing above the verdict of my own mind. Sounds great. Afterward, I did not disappoint him that what he had possessed was an inanimate body without resistance or response. It was not a woman that he had wanted to possess. It was not an act in celebration of life that he had wanted to perform, but an act in celebration of the triumph of impotence. What the fuck? Not importance, but indeed impotence. It was not the pressure of a hand that made her tremble, but the instantaneous sum of its meaning. The knowledge that it was his hand, that it moved as if her flesh were his possession, that its movement was his signature of acceptance under the whole of that achievement which was herself. It was only a sensation of physical pleasure, but it contained her worship of him, of everything that was his person and his life, from the night of the mass meeting in a factory in Wisconsin to the Atlantis of a valley hidden in the Rocky Mountains, to the triumphant mockery of the green eyes of the superlative intelligence above a worker's figure at the foot of the tower. It contained her pride in herself and that it should be she whom he had chosen as his mirror, that it should be her body which was now given him the sum of his existence, as his body was given her the sum of hers. Well, it's pretty interesting if you think about it. And something, I don't know if I'm just getting it correctly. I don't know if this is what it is supposed to mean, but I'm just gonna give it a try and talk about what I think it could mean, which is not an interpretation, but more or less what is being said in different words. So if you grant somebody physical touch, then well, do you indeed are fine with whatever this person is and did and does? Well, I wouldn't say necessarily. Like, it's not an acceptance under the whole of that achievement, which was herself. It was pleasure, but it contained her worship of him, of everything that was his person. Like, no, even though, I mean, yeah. Well, yes, to some degree, of course, if you're in a relationship and somebody touches you, is it possession? Well, possession, I think, is a pretty strong word, but to some degree, yes, it is. This is my girlfriend. This is my boyfriend. Which kind of symbolizes or shows a possession. It is mine. Which I think isn't something bad at all. I mean, maybe this is also one of the reasons why breakups are so fucked up. Because you just lose possession. You once had something and now you're not having it. And it was yours, you lost something. And we generally and genuinely don't like losing things, or losing out on things, whatever it might be. Money, food, apparently people as well, and or bodies, pleasure, a ton of things that you're gonna lose out of or lose out on when you're yeah. Anyway, so does this mean that you completely worship this person and accept this person? Well, I don't know. Like, something intimate, really. I think yes. Yes, to the degree you know this person. I just thought about one night stands. Like, do you completely accept this person? Well, you can't, because you don't know this person completely. But do you accept what you see? You accept what you know, and you accept what is in front of you, basically. Because I think you wouldn't let physical touch be okay when you wouldn't accept this person as how you see this person. Since it really is, I think, pretty intimate. And I just thought, well, if you just don't even want to talk to this person, then yeah, there's no fucking chance that this person is gonna touch you, unless this person's just doing it and you don't want it to happen. Like, it's pretty interesting. One could be just quite philosophical about these things. Anyway, I'm gonna end the episode here, and I wish you the best. See you soon.